Good evening, YouTube Model Rotor fans. I'm Ray. Back at it again. Hey, a lot of things going on this week. Got a couple of ideas for what we're going to do tonight. I want to go ahead and show you guys that track plan that I finally came up with. That's one thing. I want to show you guys some of the scenery stuff that I've done, even though, like I said, I think I've said it or mentioned it before, this thing is still kind of a test bed for what I'm doing. But, you know, it was things that I've tried that didn't work out. Some things that I've tried that did work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go over some of the things that I've done. I've also got some other news, but I'm going to wait till the end of the video to let you know about that. I'm going to go ahead, and one of the other things I've got up tonight is I'm actually going to go ahead and, like I said, I keep forgetting people. I've got shout-outs to do. I know I've got shout-outs to do, and I know I can put links in on my videos themselves. Of course, I haven't done that yet. Of course, I've rearranged my YouTube page a little bit, too. I'm hoping it's working out a little bit better. One of the things I'm trying to do is make it a little bit easier to navigate. But which is one of the things that I've noticed with a couple of the ones that I've looked at. Some of them are real easy to navigate. Others are like, okay, where am I supposed to be? But that's okay. To each his own. It works. We're good. So, let's go ahead and do this. Oh, I've got one other thing I want to show you guys, too. I think we're going to do that first. So, you know what? Let me pause it here for a minute. We'll be right back. As soon as I figure out what I did with my... Oh, there it is. Sorry. I was looking for my stylus. I'll be right back. Okay, for the surprise of the evening, I did a little bit of work this week, and I finally have both of them running. Unfortunately, this is the better running of the two, but that's an old 1950s Mantua trolley. And I finally got the tracks cleaned up, and it's semi-running. There's still some work to be done. I'm still fighting with it, but at least at the moment, I can run a trolley train, or a trolley car. So there is something that you guys hadn't seen yet. So we're going to go ahead and we'll stop him in front of the... Yeah, pick up the passengers in front of the station. And while we're at it, since we're here in the pit, let me explain some of the things that I've done here. Now, I've talked about the debacle with using joint compound, spackling compound, whatever you want to call it, around the track. And I've noticed some other people doing it and so on and so forth. That's great. My problem was I was trying to fill in, as soon as I find my finger, I was trying to fill in between the rails on this level here with the trolley. It didn't work the way I thought it would, or actually it didn't work at all. And like I've said in the past, I'm still fighting issues with the way that the trolley runs. And I'm thinking it might have to do with the water content in the compound that I actually used. So, but since we're here, these sidewalks that you actually see here, unfortunately this here isn't glued down anymore. These sidewalks are actually the cardboard from an old calendar. Let me see if I can explain the big desk calendars, the blotter calendars. That's where that came from, and all it is just painted gray and white glue on the back. The road here is actually, when it gets real close to the rails, as soon as I find my finger again, and here's a good spot to show it. When it gets real close to the rails, it's actually joint compound. But behind that, this crack here, unfortunately, I keep looking, unfortunately, what's happened here, this is actually foam core. And for those that aren't familiar with foam core, it's paper, or it's foam wrapped in paper. And it makes for a great base. I'm going to show you some other places that I've used it. So this whole area of Boeville is basically done with the foam core. In fact, the lower, these gray pieces that are out in front, that's all foam core also. So, basically what we have here is you've got your foam core, and then you have those cardboard sidewalks, and then it's all painted. And of course, here's a piece of styrofoam. Now that piece of styrofoam, and of course I realize it's beaded board and not the extruded, or I get them mixed up, but it's the beaded board. It's the older foam insulation. I realize it doesn't look as good as the smooth stuff does, but at the time that actually came from the 1980s layout. That's a piece left over from there. Let me go over here and show you something else that was done. The bridge, or the highway bridge. The highway bridge is actually, again, foam core. And all I did is I took Atlas and Tyco pier sets and made my own bracing underneath. The decking is foam core. The jersey walls or the side walls are foam core. Again, it may not be prototypical, but when you look at it, it was feasible. And again, you have your calendar backing for your sidewalks. And that's how that was done. Now, the striping, the striping was actually done with electrical tape. Different colored electrical tape, and I was cutting it into strips, which is a real pain in the rear end. But again, it worked at the time, so whatever. You know, here again, it's not perfect. Again, like I said before, this is a test bed. It's not this isn't the finished product. This was things to try, and of course I tried them on a fairly large scale, but because of the fact that I wanted to have trains running. Again, here in the mountain range in the back on Wakert Hill, or the hill range as it were. I realize I'm not out in the west. I'm actually on the east, so we've got hills. The mountains are out in the west. The hills, again, are done with the beaded board. Again, now, one of the things that bothers me about this layout is, and I don't know, I'll have to show you, actually, I can show you. You see how dark those hills are? Do you see how light these hills are? I went to go get paint done for this layout, and unfortunately, instead of them actually getting the color of the paint, they actually got the color of the rust that was on the top of the paint can. So I'm going to have to, when I actually redo the layout, I'm going to have to add some black to this, because I've still got quite a bit of it left. So I'll have to add some black to it and darken it up a little bit. The hill that the radar tower sits on, that was a hill that came over from the 1980s layout. Again, we got some more hills now. This area here with the river, this is unique. I don't think this has ever, I shouldn't say ever been done, but it's what we had done years ago. The river was actually my dad's idea, and I kind of took it and kept it. What it is it's actually Christmas present, the real thin cardboard that you would have, dress shirts and clothes in. That's what's underneath of this, and this is actually cellophane. Blue cellophane, and it's actually white glued, and it's not smooth. We actually have it to where and you can't really see it, you can't really tell, well, maybe you can, but it's actually got ripples in it, because the glue was not left in clumps, but was left raised, and then the paper or the plastic was pushed into it, which gave it a rippled effect. The bridge is actually a Bachmann. This covered bridge is actually a Bachmann. I picked it up at a local store here a few years back. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, I know exactly where that's going to go, and I got a decent price on it. So, of course, your normal through truss bridges, and then in the back. And one of the things that I noticed after I put this together in reality, because I was trying to force perspective smaller, in fact, back here on the hill, that's N gauge. I should have had that blinking bridge, the Tyco blinking bridge up front, and the Bachmann, this is a Bachmann blinking bridge. I should have had these two bridges in the back and those two bridges up front. That was a goof on my part. Let's see, what else can we get into here? The farm area, again, it's the beaded board. My father had one of these ideas years ago. He actually took an old broom and cut it and made somewhat believable corn stalks. Of course, they needed to be a lot closer together, but you know, that's what we used for corn stalks. When it was farther away, it looked better. You know, when it's this close, it doesn't look as good. And that, I think, folks, is basically where I'm at with this. And I'll have to show you. This is actually this pocket for the cars that are actually sitting in on the Newtown siding. That's made out of foam core as well. I'll have to grab a piece when we get back over to the workbench and kind of give you a better idea as to what that looks like. I'm sure everybody's seen it before, but you know, I just give everybody a little bit better look at it. So, with that being said, let's go back over to the bench. Alright, before I actually sit down at the bench, again, I know you can't take pictures of a computer screen with a computer screen. Or a camera, for that matter. However, this is the most up-to-date. This is now idea number 7 for the future Boeville in Newtown. And what we have here is you have Boeville with its hidden passenger trackage. You would leave town. The freight lines are 6 inches under the passenger line, so where it looks like the two of them are actually going into each other here, they're not. The passenger line, which is the blue lines, are actually over top the green lines. This is going to be, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this yet, and I'm going to explain this a little bit. I made this as a rollaway. The reason being is there's only like a foot between this corner and this corner, and because of the furnace and hot water heater sitting here, that's not going to work. So this section has to be removable so that you can get, you know, the hot water heater and the furnace in there. And I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon, but if I would ever have to replace it. Okay, so after, and this is a view block, there will be a view block here that'll hide the fact that the passenger line goes over top of the freight line, or at least it'll, let's put it this way, it'll hide the freight line, is what I'm envisioning. So you leave here, or you're still leaving Boeville, you're coming in, this will be the industry at New Bolshide. This here is the industry at Newtown, or the farm at Newtown. And then the passenger line will actually cross over the freight line. And this is something that I wanted to do years ago. I actually want to make this to where it's almost like a valley, and the freight line would actually follow the floor of that valley or lower in the valley, and the passenger line is actually going to cross over top. I think it'll be a fairly neat effect. And then it'll come back into this area. This is still all going to be hills, and then there will be a view block here. The bridge will actually be here, and since this is all view blocked, this whole area is all hidden. This shows the passenger yard, which, like I said, is 6 inches over the freight, and the freight line would be underneath. And the freight yard, of course, I'll have a roundhouse. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to work that in over here yet. I don't have it pictured, but I'll get there eventually. So you'll have the passenger line up top, the freight line will be underneath. And of course, I've got all these tracks sitting here for the passenger. I don't know if I'm actually going to need that many, so this might actually get narrowed, but it's an idea at this point. So, with that being said, let me back off of here, and we'll be right back. Okay, back to the ugly guy behind the camera. So, we got to see if I'm going through quite a bit tonight. I wanted to show you guys a piece of that foam core. Ah, yes. Oops. Now that I'm shaking the bench. Foam core. As you can see, this is fairly thin. It's got paper on both sides, and it's got the foam in between. And this stuff is about 1/8 of an inch thick. But it makes a good base for things as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I even put it up underneath of the houses on Wakert Hill to give them a foundation, and then actually built up with the spackling compound or the joint compound. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, but the joint, because I want to put that away. The joint compound. So you actually get a chance to, you know, it kind of raises things up so it's not completely flat. So, got to see the trolley. Finally got that running. Like I said, a couple things that came up this week. Definitely want to go ahead and get some shout-outs done here in a minute, but the big news, at least for me, and I guess the reality of it is, and it's actually a couple things here, folks. Number one is the support from the YouTube group. Outstanding bunch of folks. I saw it again this week. You know, unfortunately, one of our fellow modelers in Tennessee had a roof leak, and you know, a bunch of his ceiling tiles came down and hit the layout and then busted up some stuff, and it didn't look good when he first walked, but it sounds like things are working out a little bit. I haven't seen an update from him in a couple of days, but of course it's been during the week too, so really hope that everything works out well for him. But the thing of it is within like the first couple of minutes of him posting those pictures, it was just, you know, if you need something, and that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. Helping each other out. With that being said, I know I made a big deal of it a few weeks back when I hit 500 views, which to me was a milestone. That was huge. That was big for me. I had no idea when I started doing this back in December that I'd be sitting here in March going, man, I tell you why. Three things. This week, I hit 51 subscribers, 930 views. Thank you all. Because I owe it to you guys and gals. With that being said, one of the things that came with that, and I mentioned it in passing on one of my vlogs a few weeks ago, Big Bill, William Graham reached out to me, and I'm fairly I'm waiting to see where this goes, but at any rate, if you take a look at the YouTube Modelers Live for the month of April, I'll see you all there. I'm going to be one of the panelists. So, thanks to you all. Trust me, it's not all me. Thanks to you all for, you know, stopping by and leaving your comments, so on and so forth. If it weren't for you guys, I don't think I'd have that opportunity, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to sit there and be able to give my perspective on the hobby, be it what it is, you know, but regardless, thanks to you all. And again, like I said, the shout-outs, and give me just a second, because I'm doing something here so I won't forget. I know I've mentioned him before, Model Railer. There's a fellow by the name of Art, and Martin from Holland. Mr. Cypher, Railfan 220, William Mosier, William Graham's been on, Barry has been on. And again, Vinny's been in there, I know. AK Russian's been in there, DCC Train. You know, again, I wouldn't be where I am with the at least with the YouTube thing if it wasn't for the support from everybody and coming in and leaving the comments and so on and so forth. I really do appreciate it, and it's what it's all about. You know, again, here we go. Thinking again, Gino Sharp, another one. Robert Sacco is another one that I know that has been in. And I know, like I said, I know I'm going to leave people out. Don't take offense. I'll get around to it. I'll make sure I make amends. But like I said, you know, again, I greatly appreciate it, and I really enjoy this. And I think I'm probably well over my time limit yet again this week. Well, we had quite a bit to cover, so with that being said, again, thank you all. I really do appreciate it. And of course, we all know the deal, don't we? Wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. We'll see you next week.